Hello and welcome back to my second video about working in Death 3D, or in this time in Hexagon. I decided to make a pair of boots, and again I checked for a different, or checked, I found a different way of going on about it, and I tried it out. And since I already know the finished project, I can say it was a success. It was really nice. It worked really well. You see the start where I just work with a single tube, expand it again with the extrude tool, and then I expanded different parts of it. As you can see, I started with the front, the cover of the actual foot. I had a little slip up with another tool. I misclicked the tools and yeah, clicked on the wrong one. Again, I'm sorry for the quality, but in the meantime I found out how to improve the quality on the videos, so the next ones I will make beginning next week will have a better quality. Yeah, you can see I did the front foot, basically the cover of the main foot. Now I'm working on the heel. The short click over there was just measuring height, so everything in the end stacks neatly together. Yeah, I finished with the heel first, covered that up, then moved everything in the sole. I use a sole I made myself for most shoes or boots I make, because it's just a hassle, and I basically saved just the sole I made one time and use it most of the time for my shoes. What you will see today is the mostly finished version, but not the completely finished. I will go over it around the week one more time and upgrade it a bit. So it's really plain in the end, you will see, but I am interested in improving it a bit, adding a little bit detail, adding a little bit yeah, detail, not texture, detail, so it looks better. Yeah, you can see I work on the side. I use the welding tool to fit all the points. You can see that here. I just welded 2 points together, so there's no cut in between the pieces. So the shoe isn't sliced open. It's a complete shoe. I had lots of fun working with this different approach, this different angle of how to make a shoe. It worked pretty well. I still have to check a little bit on how a shoe, how a boot actually is formed. What I learned from this is that I think most shoes for women are actually really yeah, they have to be really uncomfortable, because in this tool I have to model the shoe around the foot. So the foot basically has all the space it needs, and I noticed that there is a distinct difference in shape between what I did here and how how shoes in the real life are actually formed. So what I noticed is that most shoes that look yeah, sexy, or that look good, or that we think, we as a society think look good on women, are restrictive to the foot and probably hurt a lot. I don't know, I have no idea. Yeah, I tried. I wanted to see what happens if I smooth the shoe, how the shape turns out. And at this point, I was already pretty satisfied because it only took me a few minutes to get to the point where I have a whole foot without any uh, problems, without any major um, hiccups. Um, the program didn't crash, and I had no problem fitting the form around the foot. But you can see it's really bulky because a foot actually needs a lot of place, and I have no idea how people or women walk in their usually kind of restrictive foot. Yeah, I used the next part. I try to make the um, I have no idea how it's called in English. I'm sorry. You will see. You will see. Um, yeah, I cut the lines in there, and so you really have a foot you can with a shoelace you can tie up. You can tie. Um, I had a lot of fun working here. It was a little bit difficult because I had two layers of the same object in front of each other, which was at first difficult to work with. But I got a hang of it. I got a hang of how it works, how where the different points are, where which layer is which, and yeah, I'm pretty happy with the result in the end. Um, One thing I can add at this point is yeah, I found a lot of those artifacts. The thing I wanted to add is you see the black sock. I actually modeled the shoe around the foot and the socks this time, because usually when I just model it around the foot, I have to improve its overall size about 2 to 5% to make it fit around the socks. So in this case, I just um, added the sock as an object and modeled around this. Also, I had on my second screen or third screen, I had a few pictures as inspiration or as how do you say? I had a few pictures of shoes I could look at, so I had an idea of how it works, how well they are cut, and yeah. This is also where I noticed the difference in bulk and in size. Um, I mean, it looks like a foot. It looks a lot like a shoe. It looks a lot like a shoe already. Um, and what I did this time was I actually cut. Usually, I just before I just cut holes for the just made the lace go through the material of the shoe. In this case, you can see here, you can see me start. I actually cut holes for the laces, which I will be doing more in the future because it just looks better, it just looks more real. I have an idea, if I ever go to the point where I um, make shoes as they are modeled by the industry, so shoes that look like in real life but are rather restrictive or hurtful to the feet. I have an idea how to go on about it, but I'm not even sure I want to do that, because yeah, I actually have to check if how far away from the original I am, or where the difference is. Um, Unfortunately, I don't have any shoes around I can check on, but whatever. Yeah, anyhow, how did I make the rings for the shoelaces? Um, what's a neat feature in this in Hexagon is that you can mark um, a single element, and if you press L, it usually tries to mark the whole line. In this case, it marks the whole edge of the cutout rings. And if you use Control Z and Control V, you can just copy and paste the things in. I also smoothened them to the same factor as I did the shoes, so um, the rings actually fit the holes perfectly, because the center of the ring is also the center of the hole. I renamed all the rings at the first on the left side. If you look at the shoe at the right side, at the second one you will have a brief pause where I just name them after I made all of them, because it's just quicker. Um, I also grouped them, so I have less stuff in all my lists to go on about. Now I copied the edge of the shoe, basically. So it has so you as a viewer get the feeling it has actual depths. It is actually material and not just plain. What I now did is I noticed that you can see the foot or the sock through the shoelace holes, whatever they're called, and I was not very satisfied, so I added a few points and moved the material underneath the original shoe. So when you would check on different angles on the shoe, um, you don't see you have the illusion of a complete shoe. But as you can see, it's cheating. Anyhow, it doesn't matter, because it's 3D animation and I can just do whatever I want, or how I want it, how I wanted to do. I tried, I actually did make a profile for the base of the shoe. I think it's a common thing with normal shoes, and yeah, I mean it's not perfect, but it's all right. Last thing, or last thing I had to do was make the laces, which I made with a single line that where I just had the rings there to mark them. Yeah, somehow I misclicked and the line broke, so the next part is needs a lot more time. Usually it's quite fast, but in this case I don't know, I misclicked and the line ended, and I was too lazy to just start over, so I just used the cutting tool, the tessellate tool, and made a few points in the lines I pulled. And in the end, it doesn't really take this much longer this way. It's just it probably is more convenient to just to redo it. I don't know. Still, yeah, I used different. I needed the top layer, the side layer, to actually fit all the pieces in the rings. So I had an idea of where the single points would go. You will see that when I actually rearrange or align all the points of the shoelaces with the actual shoe, it takes a lot of time. It's actually really time consuming. But maybe there's easier ways. I don't know. Maybe there's easier ways. But I learned with this way. I taught myself this way. Oh, by the way, I checked maybe 2 or 3 tutorials in all the time I work with this. Most of the stuff I do is self-taught, is trial and error with the tools, is an educated guess of, does this do what I think it does? Oh yes, it does. That's practical. Now you see me actually, because everything I make is just white. I decided to make how it's called, a texture. I added texture, so I had and you see I had to cut the shoe in different parts, which would easier be which would better align with the 2D texture, with the 2D picture of the texture I used. In this case, just the flat brown, just so I would see the white lines of the shoelaces. I don't know, at some point I noticed that if I use the front view, that is the top right one, yes, the top right one, and you see the edge I implemented earlier. If I align the points with the edge and just move them really close, I have the illusion of real shoelaces. I'm pretty happy with how it turned out in the end. Yeah, it's a lot of clicking and moving right now. I had to weld a lot of points together since I made too many. Something I learned this time, something I will probably not do again the next time I do it. Also, it's funny how perspective works, because in the front view, again, that's the top right, you see a lot of points, you see a lot of lines actually straight, when on the actual shoe they are not, because you always have to look out for the perspective, for the fact that the foot is not just vertical, but also has some depth to it. And you will see me in a few minutes, maybe seconds, I don't know. You will see that I have to realign some of the lines on the there it begins. Some of the lines, especially on the foot, not on the leg, but on the foot. You can see it now in the left view. That is the top. That is the bottom left view. Actually, that I realign a lot of the how it's called, a lot of the points and a lot of the lines because it's way easier. Most of it is just the universal tool where I drag and push the points to a certain value where I want them. Most of it is actually done by hand. I don't really calculate anything. There was a time when I actually calculated a lot or wrote down points and just I had long breaks because I just wrote down 10 or 20 points and just added the exact values in another part, because I had to align two things perfectly, so there wouldn't be a gap. Yeah, I used the volume tool. I can look up how it's really called, but in the end it adds volume to something. I could have also tried to add volume to the whole shoe, making it and foregoing the edge, but in the end working with the edge is always easier, because sometimes the app or the program just randomly throws points somewhere around the map, and you have a hard time realigning everything. This again is dissociation. I dissociated the edges of the tube. The line became a tube when I added volume, and this actually moved the cutting point, because at smoothing layer 2 he moves a lot of stuff around. If you ever use it, you have to try this out for yourself, or ask me for a tutorial on how smoothing works and how you can counter smoothing moving effects. And I will gladly do so, of course. Yeah, at this point I just had to touch up the last few parts where the the tool is a thickening tool, right? I just had to move a few points where the thickening tool moved part of the lace into the shoe, or into the other material, which actually can't happen in real life. So I had to touch it up and return it, but yeah, it looks a little bit basic in the end, but I'm happy with the result. And here comes the actual really boring part, because I just added a texture to the rings and have to rename every texture. An easier way, or no, another way would have been to to make a single ring, give it a texture, then copy paste it, because if you do that, every copy pasted object uses the original texture, so you just have one texture for all rings. But since this time I had to actually move all different rings, it would have been a hassle. Okay, thank you, and see you around.